The lifeblood of countless video games rests within vibrant modding communities. Games such as Skyrim, Fallout, Terraria, Minecraft, and Halo, among others, have thrived due to the passionate communities willing to dedicate time and effort to molding and building upon the game world. Whether undertaking ambitious projects that reinvent the story and content of their host games, or altering games through quality of life changes, patches, or retexturing, modders make it possible for one to personalize their experiences. While much can be said about the individual modding scenes of each game, this video explores mods as seeds of passion and creativity. Here, we're exploring the impact of 4 different mods, an inspiring community, other games, and even works of literature. If there's a mod that you believe should be mentioned here, please write it down in the comment section below. And without further ado, let's begin. The most overt and visible impact of mods is the community that generates around them. Countless modding communities exist across a multitude of different games. From the robust modding scenes of Skyrim and other Bethesda titles, to emerging communities for newer titles, modding is uniquely situated to bring people together. It is more than just playing the same game. It's changing the game together. Rather than passively consuming, modders are actively creating. One such community that I have had the pleasure of seeing grow and develop is the FEMC Reloaded Project, a Persona 3 reload mod that seeks to integrate the female protagonist, Kotone Shiomi, from Persona 3 Portable. With its first release back in February 2024, the community is about to reach its 2nd anniversary, giving us the opportunity to chart the contours of its community. From its inception as a model and UI replacement, to its now ambitious goal of integrating the FEMC experience Atlas conveniently forgotten, the community expands ceaselessly, taking matters into their own hands to create something they want to see. Rarely have I seen a single project being created collaboratively between a community and its main team. Today, FEMC Reloaded has over 100 individuals that have contributed directly and a core team of around 20 who make this entire project possible. In an interview with Akuko, Mudkip, the director of FEMC Reloaded, mentioned that they did not expect the project to attract as many talented individuals as it has today, initially expecting only a couple people to help out. Starting out in a Persona modding thread and moving into a Discord, there was no shortage of people wanting to contribute to the project. Moreover, Mudkip expressed, "Not only was I surprised by how many people wanted to help, but how many people who actually knew what they were doing wanted to help." This included programmers, reverse engineers, and implementers, as well as artists, musicians, and voice actors. Consequently, the growth of the community and available talent allowed for the vision of the project to expand. Compared to other modding communities with more official support from game developers, the Persona modding communities face many challenges. Though, despite a high barrier of entry, many contributors have been able to get involved in the FEMC Reloaded project due to the structure established by the modding team. For instance, the team permits individuals to contribute raw assets, which they then import and put into GitHub. Still, as Mudkip revealed, the largest enduring hurdle is the use of Unreal Engine 4, requiring a 50GB download and the use of tools unfamiliar and daunting to newcomers. Taking back from scrutinizing the logistics of the FEMC Reloaded project, I want to draw attention to the community itself. Beyond just creating a mod, working on something together inevitably builds bonds. In the case of the FEMC main mod team, the project forged friendships. Mudkip noted that the team frequently plays games together and collaborates on projects outside of the original mod. Rather than simply being fellow modders, they became friends through shared experiences. This extends to the wider server as well, as it became a community where people share art, cosplays, and jokes, emphasizing the importance of modding in promoting community, creating spaces for people to engage with one another. If you enjoy videos like this, consider subscribing. It goes a long way in terms of supporting the channel. And if you can, add some hype on the video. Alright, now back to the video. A myriad of games find their origin in mods. From online multiplayer titles such as Counter-Strike, Tower Unite, and Team Fortress, to single-player, story-driven narratives like The Forgotten City, The Stanley Parable, and Dear Esther, there seems to be no shortage of evidence indicating the sheer potential modding offers in sparking the creation of new games. In this section, I want to discuss two mods that have inspired their creators to pursue game development professionally: Vintagecraft and The Stars Above. Vintagecraft, created by Tyron and Irina Madliner, is a full conversion mod for Minecraft 1.8, adding world generation based on climate, rock layers, dozens of new trees and stone types, new ores and alloys, complex smelting and smithing systems, and mechanical power. This mod, which inspired by another mod named Terraria, aimed to make the survival experience more realistic and grounded in the historical progression of human technology, though Tyron and Sarity quickly understood the limitations of Minecraft modding and were largely dissatisfied with the trajectory of future updates. Instead of continuing updates to Vintagecraft, they moved to create their own game from scratch, foreshadowed by Tyron's comments on the original CurseForge page. Vintage Story, the game inspired by Vintagecraft, first began development in 2016. Tyron and Sarity aimed to push the envelope of the survival voxel game genre, vastly elaborating upon the concepts presented in Vintagecraft. In fact, the inspiration from the original mod is quite evident given the similar textures, crafting recipes, and mechanics. Apart from the polishing of several aspects from the original mod, like realistic world generation, Vintage Story boasts mechanics such as physical crafting, temperature and seasons, elaborate farming, and animal husbandry. Moreover, the game integrates lore fragments, ruined structures, and eldritch creatures lurking in the dark. Evidently, despite sharing the same genre and being situated in a similarly blocky sandbox world, Vintage Story is a visually and mechanically distinct game from Minecraft. I chose Vintage Story for this video to exemplify the motivation behind making a mod into a game. By turning Vintagecraft into its own game, Tyron and Sarity could realize their own creative ambitions. Additionally, not only did Vintagecraft act as a creative outlet for Tyron and Sarity, but it also functioned as a sounding board for concepts that would later be implemented into Vintage Story. This is a quite common progression for mods that later become games, as mechanics, stories, and visions are play-tested by an existing audience. While Vintage Story shows how modding can lead to new games and directly evolve the experience of the original mod, it also serves as a workshop for new game developers learning the craft. Consequently, the sheer power of modding games is best characterized by the impact it has on an individual game developer's journey. This is best encapsulated by Pepperlog's experiences in creating The Stars Above. The Stars Above is an expansion mod for Terraria, adding numerous bosses, countless weapons and abilities, and most notably, the Starfarer system. This system introduces two selectable Starfarer companions, Asphodine and Aridane, who converse with the player to facilitate the story of the mod. The Stars Above also features cosmic voyages, which allow the player to travel to mini-dungeons and subworlds to collect resources, converse with NPCs, and receive quests. Lastly, the mod features countless references, which are plain fun. In an interview with Akuko, Pepperlog mentioned they developed The Stars Above with their own creative interests in mind, seeking to add a level of complexity and uniqueness unfound in other Terraria mods. Still learning C# and growing as an artist, Pepperlog strived to fill their own niche as a mod developer by focusing on creating characters, writing dialogue, inventing new systems. This, in turn, allowed Pepperlog to nurture a game development philosophy oriented toward innovation and personal enjoyment. This philosophy extended greatly into the development of their debut game, Second Stellar. As Pepperlog states, as a fully fledged game developer, I keep my own personal enjoyment in mind, often, and it was at the foremost of my mind when developing my own game, innovating a tried genre with unique gameplay. Pepperlog's modding experiences significantly fostered their approach to game development and design philosophy. In creating the Stars Above, they found themselves conceptualizing gameplay tools like weapons or items in two ways, creating an objective or fulfilling an objective. In other words, combat sort of becomes a puzzle, where, as Pepperlog notes, when players solve this puzzle and benefit from it, I feel like it respects and rewards their agency, which feels fun. This approach to game design did not come from formal training, education, or engagement with the game development social media. As they explain, if I was never a mod developer originally, I don't think I would end up with this sort of design principle. It stemmed from creating the Stars Above and directly experimenting with creating items that had objectives and encouraging players to meet them. While Pepperlog acknowledges that this idea might not be entirely new, this philosophy was developed organically through trial and error. In addition to being able to practice game development, Pepperlog could do it in an environment where they could receive feedback for their work. It is no exaggeration to say that feedback is the most crucial part of the entire process. Just as we saw with Vintage Story, modding has the potential to offer an existing audience and sounding board to individuals with a vision. As aptly put by Pepperlog, the benefit of releasing a free project is having a dedicated community help to improve it out of goodwill. Even if you disagree with the player's feedback, you have to keep in mind why that feedback was made in the first place, as well as recognize lots of players will be dissatisfied but never reach out, and those that do are fans of your project. All of Pepperlog's experiences with creating the Stars Above culminate in the creation of Second Stellar. Unlike Vintage Story, Second Stellar is completely separate from the original genre of its host game. Instead of being a sandbox like Terraria, the game is a horde roguelike similar to Vampire Survivors. The influence of the Stars Above is quite apparent in the characters and story of the game, as once again, we follow the twin starfarers, Asphodine and Aridane, as they seek answers in the vast cosmos. As mentioned earlier, the game development and design philosophy Pepperlog learned while creating the Stars Above radiates through Second Stellar. Modding itself allows one to understand game development as a craft and foster a creative and artistic identity. As Pepperlog puts it, the new game isn't simply a sequel, it's the evolution of my work on the Stars Above. The identity of the game was developed with the mod in mind. Perhaps one of the most pertinent examples of a mod taking on new forms beyond its original game is the creation of the 12th World book series by Nicholas Lietzau, inspired by Enderal, the Shards of Order. For those unfamiliar, Enderal is a total conversion mod, replacing the story and world space of Skyrim with a new unfamiliar land known as Vin. It essentially utilizes Skyrim's infrastructure to create something entirely new, chock full of fresh characters, cultures, and a profoundly philosophical story. Nicholas Lietzau, the lead writer of Enderal and the author of the 12th World series, explained in a brief interview with Akuko that his early modding work allowed him to flourish as a writer. He added that working on the project propelled his career by offering public exposure and writing experience, leading him to land a role as a writer on the Spellforce 3 games. Liuzao shared that Enderal taught him an incredible amount about writing as a craft, stating that theory can only get you so far, and at some point you just have to take the plunge, write a story, and learn from your own mistakes. By authoring the full 250,000 word script and managing a myriad of other responsibilities, Liuzao immersed himself in the creation and complexities of the writing process. Authentically engaging in the process is the only path to meaningful learning. Echoing our previous discussion regarding the stars above, modding games creates a unique creative space for exploring one's passions, allowing one to learn about their craft and about themselves. Above all, Liuzao describes the most precious lesson learned from his experiences creating Enderal as confirming there's an appetite for the stories he writes, adding that it meant so much to him to see people connect with this story. Being able to access an existing and passionate community is critical not only for feedback, but also validation. As Liuzao points out, every writer or artist needs that at some point. No matter how driven and passionate you are, your art can't keep existing in a vacuum. At some point, you have to prove to yourself that it's appreciated, and that is the fuel that will keep you going. It is this fuel that invigorated him to publish his first book of the 12th World series, Dreams of the Dying, in 2020. Drawing from his earlier work, he translates much of what made the mod so compelling into rich, evocative prose. In the novel, he weaves themes such as mental illness, class and racial inequality, colonialism, morality, and the human condition into a narrative that bubbles with unabashed political relevance. The book follows Gaspar Tremoreste, a mercenary contracted to investigate the abnormal coma of a dying merchant king. As best told through the back cover of the book, we follow Gaspar battling old trauma while fighting for his life, his sanity, and the fate of Calais. The line between dream and reality blurs until one question remains. If your mind is the enemy, where do you run? In composing Dreams of the Dying, Liuzao expertly expanded upon the cultures present in Enderal, especially that of the Chilean archipelago. Throughout his work, he illustrates vivid and patently realistic cultures, brimming with character and uniqueness. Built upon his experiences working on Enderal and its lore and world building, he created a nuanced, cohesive, and believable world. Dreams of the Dying crystallizes the power of mods in inspiring individuals to craft literary work beyond the scope of their original project. Liuzao's journey from a project lead of a Skyrim mod to a novelist epitomizes how the creative seeds born from modding can bloom into other mediums of storytelling. Before I begin my conclusion, I want to personally thank Pepperlog, Mudkip, and Nicholas Liuzao for their time in sharing their experiences about how modding has impacted them. I highly recommend that you check out their respective projects and show your support. Modding occupies a special place in my heart. At its core, it is a space not bound by the idea of what might sell, but by the sheer creativity and passion of developers. I hope this video sheds light on the possibilities that modding offers to those who engage in it, from building teams and communities closer together to fostering one's own personal journey with their craft. If you want to see videos like this in the future, consider subscribing. It goes a long way in terms of supporting the channel. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.